This video is brought to you by the Ridge Wallet. More on them later. There comes a time in every boy's life when he starts criticizing Pokemon. It's usually a transformative time when the wide-eyed, blissfully ignorant optimism for everything Pokemon is replaced by a newfound appreciation of other video games and the qualities that make other games so fun and exciting. You play enough new games and you start thinking, hey, why doesn't Pokemon do that? Or, hey, what's up with this Pokemon game? The franchise is at a strange place where people seem very quick and very keen to point out the flaws, but a quick flick through the entire catalogue will make it very clear that Pokemon has had some absolute stinkers in the past throughout all of its history. Time will pass and Game Freak will do what they want with this franchise, but there's no escaping the mistakes that have been made in the past. All we can do now is talk about them and maybe point out some shoddy game design. I mean, I've got nothing else better to do. It's worth mentioning the worst Pokemon games because we can then use those examples as a way of highlighting the more positive qualities that we want to see in future Pokemon games. Much like how I never want to see my old chunky leather wallet again, but thankfully I don't have to because this video is sponsored by Ridge and their high quality, sleek, very fancy looking front pocket wallet. You know, it's actually chainsaw proof and maybe Pokemon proof. You know, I realise there's no way of checking that last one. Given how advanced we're making all of our things these days, it's a bit strange how little wallet-making technology has progressed over the years. We've got phones that can do crazy things, but wallets are still leather and heavy and too big for our pockets. Luckily, Ridge is here to help out with their sturdy wallets that can hold up to 12 cards with extra room for cash, and with more than 30 colours and styles to choose from, you're very likely to find something that suits your tastes. Plus, Ridge were kind enough to send me one of their waterproof commuter backpacks with a shock-resistant laptop holder and an external USB port for on-the-go charging. Honestly, once I start going on public transport again, I'm definitely using this as much as possible. Ridge comes with a lifetime warranty, so you can buy one wallet for the rest of your life if you like, with a 45-day return window for a free refund if you're not such a fan. Get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/RabbidLuigi and using the code RabbidLuigi. It's time to move your wallet into the future. Okay then, let's see just how bad Pokemon can get. Just a quick heads up, I'm probably not going to be talking about the mainline series of Pokemon games very often in this video, because while there's definitely been the occasional lapse in quality and the high standards that Game Freak try to set themselves, it's usually not been terrible enough to trouble any discussion about the worst Pokemon games. And yet here I am, throwing X and Y under the bus as a terrible Pokemon game. You know, it had to happen at some point, I suppose. The question here is less of how X and Y stacks up compared to every other Pokemon game, and more so what these games do for the quality of the main series. This was a big step forward for the franchise, with X and Y marking the start of the franchise's foray into 3 dimensions and vague attempts at balancing type matchups by throwing Fairy into the mix. Now all your dragon Pokemon are fucking terrified! Evidently, Game Freak wanted to make waves with this generation and were desperate for it to be more than just the 3D one. Sadly, now that the dust has settled and 3D mainline Pokemon games have become the norm, there's not a ton to go back to these games for. I mean, I'm not going to stand in the way of anyone's favourite Pokemon redeeming this generation for them, and I myself am partial to a Greninja or a Malamar, but even then, you gotta face facts that aren't actually facts and are in fact heavily subjective opinions that these games aren't so great. Or at the very least, they should be a hell of a lot better. You can make an argument for any generation being the worst, but I keep coming back to Gen 6 for it being a massive waste of potential. I don't know what the development was like behind these games, but it feels like they ran out of time to do everything they wanted to do. Difficulty has been cranked way down to help provide new players with a stepping on point, which is dangerous when you're trying to convince existing players that this is the future of Pokemon, and it isn't helped at all by Mega Evolutions making a lot of the small challenges completely irrelevant by the game donating a Mega Lucario to you so you can steamroll the rest of the game. I don't know, there's brief moments where everything clicks together nicely, but too many others where you can just feel the lack of focus and how the devs had their hands tied for what to do with these games. Do they do something completely new with these tweaked aesthetics, or stick with traditional Pokemon shenanigans? Or the sticky mess of the two that we ended up with that satisfies neither option and warped the competitive metagame for years to come? When we decided that legendaries needed stronger forms, that's probably where things started to tumble downhill. Some would say that we still haven't recovered. When your franchise is as impressively massive as Pokemon, it's completely natural to think that it can do no wrong. Pikachu and the Pokemon brand have been on everything from shoes to skateboards to fucking condoms, apparently, and when there's such a reliable track record with video games, you can afford to expand the scope of your ideas out a bit and see what directions they'll take you. This works nicely in tandem with Nintendo's love of peripherals and testing out new ways of playing video games, and who knows, if Hey You Pikachu was made these days with significantly better technology and a greater understanding of how a player would interact with a virtual Pikachu, it might have been a success. Instead, it's an N64 game at a time when Nintendo have only just grasped how to make 3D games, let alone one where you chat with Pikachu for hours on end. Running before they could walk. Hey You Pikachu is a very indulgent video game that perhaps represents a point in time where Game Freak and the Pokemon Company knew how popular their franchise was and how much people would be really keen to hang out with Pikachu because, hey, he's a cool guy. Who wouldn't want to attempt to communicate with late 90s artificial intelligence and fledgling voice recognition software? You know, it's like a match made in unresponsive heaven. You have to ask yourself, just how much fun can you have screaming into a microphone for Pikachu to do something? I won't pretend that there isn't any appeal whatsoever, because Hey You Pikachu is carried at least a short distance by the novelty of Pikachu sometimes doing what you say and responding in kind, but the harsh reality is that this concept is too advanced for the technology that Nintendo had at their disposal in 1998. It's doubly strange, since the N64 microphone wasn't some kind of new peripheral for the console that would carry over to other games like the Wii Balance Board or the NES Zapper, since it's just Hey You Pikachu making use of this technology and Go by Train 2, apparently. So you can't even use the excuse of it being some kind of rushed promo material. It's just a fun idea executed really badly to the extent that it becomes frustrating and inadvertently hilarious. And I can't say with any confidence that this is what the devs were aiming for. Maybe I should go check out Go by Train 2 instead. I'll probably have a better chance at controlling a train in Japanese than getting Pikachu to do anything that I say. He's an unruly fucker. On the subject of Pokemon putting too much stock into their weird ideas, what in the freshest fuck was Pokemon Channel? I played this game as a kid and I didn't question it because A, I loved Pokemon a lot, B, I was raised by video games and therefore TV, and C, I kind of enjoyed hanging out with Pikachu. That's right, Nintendo weren't quite done with the whole Pikachu is my best friend thing, and so Pokemon Channel came to life as a de facto Hey You Pikachu sequel that Wikipedia has a really hard time classifying the genre of. They have a point though, because I remember doing lots of things that could be barely considered interacting with a video game in any meaningful way, which mostly boiled down to watching Pikachu watch TV. At least Game Freak didn't bother trying to tie in some kind of voice recognition, so it seems like they learned their lesson. Don't want people talking over Psyduck's news channel anyway. Scientists have warned against DNA splicing of 2 or more creatures in an attempt to create Pokemon, describing the act as playing God. Our reporter is on the scene.
I'm here on the scene.
Psyduck! Well, at least it's experimental. I do like the idea of hanging out with Pikachu and sitting indoors browsing TV channels until I find something good, like Netflix and chill at a time before Netflix and minus the overbearing sexual tension. It's a fun game for what it is, and it's good for impressionable young kids who just want to be best friends with Pikachu, but the lack of game here is really noticeable. It's even more passive than Hey You Pikachu because at least there you were actively trying to communicate with the little guy, but Pokemon Channel was instead made with the e-reader in mind, and you can count the number of games that use that thing properly on a closed fist. Where's the appeal? Where's the incentive to play Pokemon Channel? Other than perhaps getting a Jirachi out of it, but only for Europe and Australia because clearly Japan and America can get by off of their overwhelming love of barely playing a video game. Your reputation can only take you so far, Pikachu. Pokemon storage? It sounds so clinical, as if you're organizing strands of data rather than what's supposed to be living, thinking, feeling creatures. And hey, I get why they need to exist, because Pokemon's been around for yonks and it's a pain in the butt to shuffle all these critters from one game to the next, but still sounds a bit weird. So yeah, something like Pokemon Bank or Pokemon Home is necessary, because otherwise life would descend into chaos beneath a mountain of hundreds of loose, disorganized Pokemon. And as long as they're treated more like applications and less like fully fledged video games, we won't have a problem here. So keep them free and simplistic, and definitely nothing like My Pokemon Ranch, because that game was 1,000 Wii points, which is about $10 or roughly £7, and that's a lot for something that just stores Pokemon. Cheaper than getting something from IKEA to do the same though. Maybe they're onto something here. You need to remember what the Wii was as a console and how the whole Mii aesthetic spread outwards to everything from like party games to Mario Kart and to also Pokemon storage. It meant that it couldn't just be an app on the homepage just happy doing its job. It had to have your Mii characters in it, and it had to be like the characters had to walk around the farm and tend to all your Pokemon. You know, I'm sure someone found it fun. Yeah, I think that's the main issue here, because Pokemon storage isn't really meant to be fun, it's just useful. As soon as you start making it colourful and having interactions between Pokemon, you're changing where the focus is and what the player should expect from a game that shouldn't be doing much more than function well. Does anyone remember Pokemon Box? I got it as a bundle with Colosseum, and at no point was I under the impression that it had any value other than being a place where you can store up to 1,500 Pokemon that are cluttering up your mainline games. I already bought Colosseum, this was just an added bonus and it felt like it. My Pokemon Ranch doesn't even do that well, because you can only transfer Pokemon back to the game it originated from, so there's no way you can use this game as a way of grouping a bunch of Pokemon together for one game in particular, and I can think of a few different things that would be more deserving of me spending £7 on them. The Pokemon don't even look all that good, whether it's part of the Mii styling or something, but Pikachu looks malnourished, and Gyarados' face has been replaced by a reminder that if you're enjoying this video and want to see more, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications of every new video. Luckily these days we have Pokemon Home, that may come with a subscription fee, but it's under no illusions of what its role in the world is and can talk to a whole bunch of different games, so it's slightly better, I suppose. Also, the Pokemon don't look like merely being there is a strain on their continued existence. I definitely want my Pokemon to be happy with their daycare arrangements. They might even make a few eggs. If there's one thing that these last few Pokemon games have in common, it's that they don't feel like games. Not just that they don't feel like traditional Pokemon RPGs, since this IP has branched out to other genres with at least a little bit of success in the process, but it's these weird simulations where they trip up the most. Or that would be the case, but Umbrella, the company behind My Pokemon Ranch Pokemon channel and Hey You Pikachu, also put their name on a Pokemon racing game as a launch title for the DS, back when developers and players were still getting used to touchscreen technology. The DS wasn't lacking in quality launch titles thanks to Metroid Prime Hunters, WarioWare Touched, and at least some of Super Mario 64 DS, so it's not like no one knew how to use the new hardware, but this is bold. A new genre for Pokemon with a new control scheme for Pokemon? What could possibly go wrong? We've only had one Pokemon racing game, and Dash is the sole reason why this was never tried again. There's some novelty to seeing a fully 3D Pikachu bound towards you on the title screen, but as soon as you're put in control of Pikachu and asked to control him by scratching the hell out of the DS's touchscreen, the dream dies a gruesome death. There's a shocking lack of control with strumming in the touchscreen as fast as possible, so you're left to prioritise more precise movements so you don't go careening past checkpoints or dig a hole in your brand new DS. I can see what they were trying to do here, but no one at Umbrella thought about what this game would be like to play for any sustained period of time, and how surprisingly boring it is to drag Pikachu across the screen over and over again. Might have been a good tech demo at some point, but there's not enough here for it to be much more than a mini-game in another more substantial Pokemon game. Umbrella, by the way, have been confined to making Pokemon Rumble games since 2009, after being responsible for some of the worst games in Pokemon history. Just for the love of God, keep them away from Pokemon Snap or there will be hell to pay. We need some positivity around Pokemon again. This is RabbidLuigi, and the extent to which Pokemon Dash scratched up the TS's touchscreen is perhaps not as bad as Mario Party 1 ruining the palm of your hand, or the punishment that Smash Bros. 4 inflicted on my 3DS, but it's still scary to play on day one of your new console and having to put so much unnecessary stress on a new bit of hardware. By making it this way, you're saying that this is the only way you can make a Pokemon racing game, and you know, they haven't made one since, so clearly they were right. I guess we'll all just put them in fucking carts now. Hi, I just want to give a shout out to my top supporters on Patreon. We have La Cookie Queen, Ramon Alberto, Stefan Wode, Jerome Curiou, Fusion Warrior, Sarah Malion, is it Malon? Christopher Robinson, Joe Creamer, M Phoenix, and Scott Riker. Thank you all for your continued support, and if you want to be a part of this madness, you can go to, patreon.com/RabbidLuigi, where I post things and read out names, and we all generally have a good time. And also, what topic would you like to see me cover next? Leave your suggestion in a comment on this video, because I'll be taking the best ideas and making a poll on my community tab, which you can then vote on to decide what the next video is about. I'll be announcing the winner of the poll over on my Twitter, so make sure you follow me so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.